The Midwest was formed by explorers, those who were willing to risk everything to see a better future. While our lands are still rich with agriculture, we are more than just flyover country. Our former cow towns are now business hubs and technology innovators. On this show, we tell the stories of folks marketing in the middle. This is the Midwest Marketing Show. I wanted to record a special edition of the Midwest Marketing Show to kind of give you a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to run a podcast. So let's talk about a few items that you'll need. And we'll start from where my voice begins and take you all the way to the computer. So one of the first things you're going to need is a decent microphone. Some of the microphones you can get for computer setups, like the Blue USB microphone, they run around $100 and you're going to get some amazing quality sound. I cannot stress enough how important a good microphone is. And there's several different types of microphones you're going to want to consider. If you've got a really quiet room and you want to pick up as much noise as possible, you might look at a condenser mic. But one of the problems is it will pick up every single sound that comes through the room. So we started our podcast, for 10 years, and it was the condenser mic was always the most amazing part about the sound. It was just rich, it was clean, but one of the problems was it would pick up every single sound. So when we switched offices and we didn't have a dedicated podcast room anymore, we had concerns with the microphone because you could hear people moving in the background. Over 30 feet away, you would hear the shuffling of paper, and that became an issue. We were constantly cleaning up audio, and so we switched to these current mics. And if you're looking at the video version, you'll see, and these are dynamic cardinal mics, and what that means is they only pick up sound about 8 inches away from the front of the mic. These are pro level mics, so they're around $300 to $400 each. They have the built-in pop filters, and they're tuned for audio and tuned for the vocal sound and instrument sound. So if you're doing music, you can use these mics for those as well. So that's where I'd start with the mic. Coming out of the mic, you got to have nice cables. You can't just go on the cheap and look on Amazon and get $1, XLR cable or something like that. You need to get some high quality cables. So be prepared to spend some of your money on the instrumentation. Next up, you have, or at least we like to have, a compressor, a gate, and a condenser. And that's this little piece of equipment sitting on the side of me. And what it does is it limits the background noise that you'll hear. It limits the range of sound that you pick up, and then it starts to allow audio through at a certain decibel level. So if you have some white noise in the background, you can use this tool to pull it out, and so it doesn't come through on the recording. Again, a good microphone should stop that, but you always need another tool to help it. You can get it embedded into some of your digital mixers, but most of the time it's another piece of hardware you're going to need. Then you've got the mixer itself. So once the audio comes out of our gate, it comes into the mixer, and that's where we adjust the volume. We adjust different aspects of the sound through the equalizer. And then we can also control the sound on where it goes next. If it comes in and it records individually, so if I'm doing an interview, I can have my track, a separate WAV file essentially from my voice, and a WAV file for the interviewee's voice. And then if we're using the phone system, that's where it really comes in handy to have those individual tracks. So we have here, the example we use is the Tascam digital Porta system. We used to have a Mackie, or a Porta Studio, sorry about that. We used to have a big old Mackie setup that you would see, in concerts, and it took an audio technician and me digging for months and months and months to figure out how this piece of equipment worked. You had to have a computer hooked up to it to record all the time. With this Tascam system, it's around $500. It does the recording on there. It has the individual tracks. It has the mixer built in, and it does a lot of amazing things for podcast, and it's pretty portable. So if you want to go on the road and do your show, that way this setup works great for that. You need a recorder, solid state recorder of some sort, so that way you can be remote, or just be at your computer and record from there. A lot of people use the Skype recorder for that beginning day setup, but then we use this built-in recorder on the Tascam, and then after we're done with the show, we pull it into our software. But before we get there, I want to talk about how to pull in people for an interview. So if you're doing a show that is beyond just you and a co-host, or just you talking and you're going to interview people, you need to have a way to bring them in. And so we have two interfaces for that. This equipment right here is called the JK Audio Broadcast Host. We've also used another brand called Telos as a hybrid. And what it does is it pulls in your telephone line, and it transfers your voice that's coming out of your microphone from the mixer to the device and sends that over the wire so they can hear you. And then whatever they say comes back through the wire into this and back into the mixer. And so this is essentially like the microphone for the telephone. So you can think of it that way. Another interface would be Skype. And so as long as you can do the same thing, you could take your audio out of your mixer and send it into a computer through either the traditional pink and green jacks, or in our case, we use a small USB sound card to pull in the microphone and to also get that output. So we want to be able to pull the microphone into the computer and use that as our mic from the Skype perspective. And then from the headphone jack, we want to pull that audio back into the mixer and then be able to record it individually. You can also record the track in Skype and then pull it over that way. But I like to be able to hear it in my headphones and have it be this kind of consistent sound, and treat this as my system of record, this as the place where I have all my audio. And so some other small things you can consider because you are recording is a chair. We use some pretty cheap folding chairs, and the reason we use those is they have a pad on them, so that's nice for longer interviews. But the big one is they don't have wheels, so I can move in my chair and I'm not going to get sound out of the chair. You don't want to use an overly plush chair because that's going to make the squeaky noise. Leather chairs, again, have sound involved. And then the wheels rolling across the floor are one of the hardest things to pull out of an audio track. So just be concerned there. Another very easy tool that you can get is just a note stand. So you see these, back in the day when we were doing a lot of typing and paper entry, you would see these, at Office Max. They're great for just putting up your show notes and being able to see it without having to move around or hold a piece of paper or getting that crumple sound in the background. So those are some, tools that you can use for the more manual stuff. The other thing is you need a nice set of headphones. If you're doing an interview with somebody who's remote, you have to be able to hear them. But also if you're doing an interview with someone in person, putting the headphones on kind of encapsulates you into the interview, because you only hear yourself and hear the person speaking to you, because all that other information that's going on outside, all that other noise is being limited to, through this other equipment. And so if you have a news that's or a room that's open to everybody, you might consider, a pair of decent headphones. If you're just recording yourself, you really don't need headphones. You might need them up front just to make sure the audio levels are the same, but you should be able to see the readout on most of your devices to see where that recording level is. And then finally, once you get the WAV file recorded, or the MP3, whatever you're using, you need a good tool for editing. And to edit, we suggest Adobe Audition. It is an amazing product. It's been around for a very long time. When we first started podcasting, we used Audition. And now, like I said, over 12 years later or 10 years later, we are still using it, and it just continues to get better and better and better. It's very easy to pull out background noise, to apply filters, to adjust the quality of sound. within there, and then do the editing. So to put the show together, to put your intro, to put your outro, to put any ads that you might have mixed in, Adobe Audition is a premium tool. And if you're part of the Creative Cloud, so you use Premiere Pro maybe, or Photoshop and Lightroom, it all comes together in that big cloud setup. So that's one great tool. Another one that a lot of people use is Audacity. It's a free tool. It's definitely rich. You can do as much, you can do the same things that you can in Audition, but as a free tool, the user interface might not be as rich. So check to see which one you prefer. And then whenever you have that ripped down MP3 and you're ready to publish your podcast, a couple systems that you might look at. One that we use now is called Hipcast. It's a great place to just easily be able to go up, upload your audio, and then it creates the iTunes feed for you. And you can put your show notes up there. And it's just a great way to easily create a feed for the Stitchers of the world and the iTunes podcast. And then some other ones we've used in the past are like Buzzsprout, which is a very similar system. They're very inexpensive. They're just, $10, $20 a month. So consider those. SoundCloud is another one. It's a more open platform for audio files. People are starting to use that. It's very easy to integrate into your website and to have that play button functionality. And then a few other content systems like Rainmaker FM and the Rainmaker platform are starting to pull in podcasting into content because it is content. It's just audio form. So there, a lot of people are seeing that. You're seeing ProBlogger move into the podcast realm, and then everyone from Copyblogger is starting their own podcast. So our platforms are going to start being richer and have more audio features and then more video features as we continue to roll down this digital path that we began. So that's behind the scenes of our show. One of the things we will be incorporating soon is the video aspect of the show, which that's going to take it to a whole new level of what we have to do when we record. And so I'm excited about it, but then I'm also nervous because there's a lot that goes into producing a video, multiple camera setups, lighting, being able to, have a conversation that's entertaining in the visual form and not just the audio form. So there's a lot that goes into that. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show.